Hey, it's another episode of Nerd Noise. So, today's Hey everybody, it's Nerd Noise. Yep. Just got finished watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Wow. This was a great movie. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. Is it as good as the first? It's at least on par. Let's put it that way. There were they definitely had that same formula that worked so well in the first movie carried over. A lot of great humor, a lot of it's very surprising types of scenes and some very interesting cameos. I was very surprised about quite a few of them. Did not expect to see a few people in there. Yeah. So let's see. Right off the bat, one, whoever did the trailers for this movie did a great job because I never could tell exactly what the plot of it was going to be, and what I thought. A lot of the things that I thought about going into this from the trailers turned out not to be the case. So good job on not giving it away. So fantastic there. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler light as possible, but let's face it, I am going to talk about a few things. One, the Sovereign, the gold-faced people. That was funny. Yes, the Sovereign is not the primary antagonist of this film, which, again, was something that the trailers were kind of leading you to believe. No. In fact, they're a running gag, which is great. So, yeah, the main antagonist is Ego, the Living Planet, played by Kurt Russell. Perfect cast. This guy just did a fantastic job with the role. Wonderful addition to the MCU. Let's see. Yeah, they did end up kind of splitting the group up, but in all honesty, it didn't feel as forced. I've heard a couple of comments from people who have seen have gotten not previous, but viewings before the release, and they were kind of mentioning something about, oh well, they split them up, but it kind of no. It makes a little bit more sense on why you get this A plot and this B plot going, and why they get brought back together, and you get a lot of character development. See, I think that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this movie, is that everybody seemed to get some kind of significant character development, which really made this movie. Of course, the theme of this movie, which was beaten into us with a 2x4, is family. And everybody's character arc said family, straight up. You've got Gamora and Nebula working their bit out. You've got Drax kind of working some of his things out a little bit in his own special way. You've got Yondu and Rocket finding common ground in their past. You've got Baby Groot. So, the group's actual little baby bundle of joy running around, and all his antics, and them dealing with the unreliability of their old friend now that he's in this particular state. And then, of course, the big reveal of Ego being Peter's, Star-Lord's father, and that as a Celestial, which is, as Ego puts it, I'm God, little g. So, being of immense power from the beginning of the universe. And Peter has that gene inherited from him, so he is part celestial. I didn't find that there were any real slow plots in there. I mean, you did have, again, excuse me, a lot of very heavy character development from everybody, but none of it felt like it dragged. You didn't have that one quiet spot when everybody's, basically falling asleep while somebody goes through some kind of exposition or something like that. No. The humor was on point almost all the time. A couple of the jokes were a little telegraphed, but it was okay because it still elicited a lot of laughs from me throughout the entire film. Excuse me. Let's see. Again, a couple of very interesting cameos. Sylvester Stallone. I really didn't expect to see him. And I can't remember the guy's name. The guy played Marcel Wallace from Pulp Fiction. For the love of me, I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, he had a cameo in this. Brandon Browder, who played John Crichton from Farscape, among other roles, having a cute little scene, a little cameo scene where he's sitting there using his fake British voice that he used whenever he was a peacekeeper, pretending to be a peacekeeper during Farscape. So that was kind of cute and rather unexpected. But and that's the one I actually kind of appreciate the most, because the way that they structured Peter's character, Quill's character, is exactly like the character John Crichton from Farscape, in that he's constantly got the snarky attitude. He's constantly making these pop culture references from Earth that goes over the head of every alien that he comes across. Things like, for instance, a funny little joke right in the beginning. He's sitting there, he calls Rocket a raccoon, which Rocket, of course, keeps getting pissed off at. And so Peter turns around, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're a trash panda." And everybody's kind of looking blankly at him, and Rocket's going, Is that better? Is that worse? What is that?" And all of a sudden, Peter's turned to the rest of them, going, "It's totally worse. It's just so much worse." And of course, hilarity ensues. Things like that. So this, throughout the entire movie, you had this kind of stuff. Of course, you get the obligatory Stan Lee cameo. This one was a great one because it brought up another character or race that I wasn't expecting to see. The Watchers. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to spoil it for, too bad for anybody. So you're not going to miss it. Trust me. A major character does die in the end, so it does kind of make the ending slightly bittersweet. Well, okay, more than a little bittersweet. I actually got a bit of a tear from the way they played it out, but it really struck home their concept of family and people doing right for each other, and you'll understand when you see it. But a very nice bittersweet ending at the end. The fight sequences, you saw the one with the Ravengers in the beginning with Rocket during the trailers, or at least bits of it. So it was a good 10 minutes of that. The big sequence was, of course, at the end, where Peter and Ego actually start to fight and go at it for a while. And again, it was very interesting on how they did that. And again, it kind of gave another homage to the first Guardians movie, in that Peter's tapping into this hidden power within himself, and then he's able to roll out with some pretty incredible stuff. Oh, another fun homage is to the original movie is right at the very beginning with the title sequence. As I kind of suspected going into this, the squid monster that they kept showing prominently on all the trailers is the title sequence of the movie. So you got all the Guardians sitting there beating up on this creature, and Rocket had set up a little outdoor speaker system to hook up to Peter's Walkman, so that they could sit there and jam to Peter's mixtape while they were fighting. So Groot plugs it in, and then spends the entire title sequence dancing around this hovering platform while everybody else is beating on the Cthulhu spawn. So it was a very cute sequence. Baby Groot was so wonderful, and what kind of got it for me was, the fact that as a baby Groot, they gave him a lot of the features and nuances that I see in my 3-year-old son. So it was quite relatable. The big eyes, really, it just the whole mannerism and all. It was so cute and very, very relatable to people who have dealt with small kids before. 5 end credit scenes, if I counted correctly. It's either 5 or 6, but I'm pretty sure it was 5 end credit scenes. Only one of them had any significant tie over to what's going to be happening next, which all I'm going to say is Adam Warlock. The other ones were a lot of funny little scenes as you're going along. You actually get a second cameo from Stan Lee as one of them. There's a scene about Groot. And yeah, again, wonderful stuff. And the best part is, yeah, they did 5 of these little end credit or mid-roll credits, like whatever you want to say. But what's interesting was that the title sequence, the end credit sequence was not boring. They made sure to give it a lot more personality throughout the entire role. It wasn't just generic music playing as they did the typical credit roll. What they did was, it was more like the late 70s, early 80s record albums, the way that they used to print those with the art, with the nice pretty artwork, and actually looked faded. You could see where the paper would crack on the hinge of the fold of the album cover, things like that. And as it's scrolling up, it's doing things like you'd see little images of the various cast members, and they're dancing around, or they're getting doodles put on their faces, or as the credits are rolling, some credits would just say "I am Groot," and then halfway up the screen it would then change over to whatever it was actually going to say. So half the fun is sitting there watching every time it says "I am Groot." So it didn't feel like a slog to get through the 2 miles of end credits just to see on whether or not there's going to be that one final scene before they turn the lights on. So I appreciated that. I appreciated the fact that they recognized that people now expect that to be a part of the Marvel movies, and that they kind of took a page from what some Japanese films do, in that they want to make sure that the credits themselves stay entertaining for those people who actually are staying for the entire thing. Japanese people apparently do that as a way of being polite, is to sit through the whole credits as a way of being polite to the movie makers. So it's nice to see Marvel taking that kind of mentality of saying, we appreciate that you're sitting through this, so we're going to entertain you throughout that whole thing. So that was nice. All in all, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. This is going to be a movie I'm going to be happy to have in my home collection when it finally comes out. I was extremely thrilled to see it, and can't wait to see what they're going to do next, especially when you start getting into the Infinity Gauntlet saga coming up in the next, what is it, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what'll happen when the Guardians start getting rolled into the rest of the MCU, and those worlds start colliding together. So, great job, Marvel. Fantastic job. Until next time, I'm Daiquiri Jack. This is Geek Gumbo, and there it is.